Okay, time for part 3 of your tissue notes and finish them out. Muscle tissue, as you probably already know, is for movement. These cells are able to shorten and contract to allow for that movement. And there's 3 main types of muscle tissue: skeletal, cardiac, and smooth. Skeletal muscle, you can see right here, is attached to the skeleton. That's why we call it skeletal muscle. Cardiac, cardi meaning heart, so this is in your heart. And smooth muscle is in all of your hollow structures like your stomach, your trachea, your blood vessels. For each of these, you need to know where it's located and characteristics of each. So, starting with skeletal muscle, as we said, is attached to the skeleton. It is voluntary. You control what it's doing. You control if you're lifting weights, if you're running, walking, jogging, whatever. The cells are striated, meaning that they have these teeny tiny stripes to them. And I'll show you what those look like. They're like baby little zebra stripes almost. They're long, cylindrical, and multinucleate. The reason they are multinucleate is because that originally it was multiple cells that fused together into one. So that's why I can end up with some really long cells like that go all along your thigh. These are the ones that pull on your bones to allow your joints to move, and then also on your skin and your face to allow for all your facial expressions. So you can see this is a picture of skeletal muscle. You see these tiny little like zebra stripes right here on each individual cell, right? So I have these long cylinders. Each of these is a cell, but they have a bunch of nuclei because they are multinucleate and they are striated. They have these tiny little stripes to them. Okay, so skeletal muscle is voluntary, striated, multinucleate, and on the skeleton. Cardiac muscle is found only on the heart. That's kind of easy because it's cardio. This is in your heart, it's striated, so it also has those tiny little stripes to it. It is uninucleate, uni being one, so there's only one nucleus per cell. And these cells, your heart cells, have to all work together at the same time, right? They all have to contract at the same time to allow for your heart to do its pumping. So in order that to happen, they have these discs in between the cells with those gap junctions. Remember we talked gap junctions? It's like this tunnel shortcut between so that things can happen very quickly. And they can pass ions between them, and so they can all contract pretty much at the same time. And cardiac is involuntary, which is a good thing. I don't want to have to think about my heart pumping all the time and never get to sleep. So cardiac is involuntary, striated, uninucleate, and found in the heart. Okay? And this is what it looks like. You can see there's one nucleus per cell, tiny little stripes, and it's kind of branched to grab onto the other cells. So the last is smooth muscle. This does not have any striations. It's nice and smooth where the ends come to a point. This is in all your hollow organs. So your stomach, bladder, uterus, blood vessels, any of those things that we need them to later contract. So like your uterus, as the baby's growing, these cells have to stretch and get bigger. You don't make more cells. They just stretch. And then that way, when you get ready to deliver the baby, they can contract to help push that baby out. Same thing with your bladder, your stomach, your mixing and churning, blood vessels. They can dilate to let more blood flow, or they can constrict to have less blood flow, depending on your body's needs at the time. Small intestine, this is how I'm moving food through with peristalsis, that wave-like motion that pushes through, kind of like moving things through a tube of toothpaste. So smooth muscle, you need to know what's in. It does not have striations. It is uninucleate. It is involuntary, and it's in your hollow organs. So this is what it looks like. So you can see it's just kind of these smooth, pink, wavy cells. All right, your last tissue is your nervous tissue. There's only one kind of thing to it, which is more nervous tissue. And these cells are called neurons. And I know you've studied these back in biology. where they can receive and send electrical signals. And we'll get into the details of that when we get to nervous system. For now, I'll be able to recognize that they're neurons, they're part of the nervous tissue, and this is what's helping send signals through the body. So this is what they look like. So last, let's talk about tissue repair, because you're not perfect, I'm not perfect, we're going to get hurt. I myself am really clumsy and get hurt all the time. So I need my tissues to be able to repair themselves. So it happens in two ways. One is regeneration, where the same kind of cells regenerate. The second is fibrosis. This is where I end up with scar tissue because I've got dense connective tissue covering it very quickly. So if you have a small wound, like a paper cut, you're going to have cells that can regenerate pretty easily. Versus if you have an extensive or a larger wound, you'll end up with fibrous connective tissue because it's like, let's close it up really fast, not even worried about what it looks like, and that's why you end up with a scar. And so these are some basic terms. The biggest ones, make sure you know these last two right here. These are super important. For what we're doing right now. Healing by first intention is the simplest. This is where the edges are brought together, right? So your body doesn't have to close up that gap as much. You've got either sutures or staples or something holding the ends together so that it helps close up that wound and your body can just fill in a small gap, versus healing of second intention, which is where you have a larger area open and your body has to fill it all in, so that's why you end up with a larger scar. And that is it for your tissue notes. I hope all that helps you, and we'll talk later.